Welcome to the MLB Coast to Coast podcast, brought to you by Play Picks and the Lines. Coming to you from the West Coast, Josh Lander, joined by my guys Mo Nuara in the Midwest, and we got Nate Weitzer on the East Coast. And we are looking at a 6-game nighttime slate here in the MLB to kick things off this week on Monday night. Make sure you are liked and subscribed to that page so you can continue to follow along with us. We'll be bringing you each and every video like this during the regular week for the rest of this MLB regular season. Also have some great coverage on thelines.com. Mo, Nate, and the gang have great content up there for you guys each and every night and day for you with that MLB content. And we are finishing strong with that NBA Finals content as well, and plenty more. And as always, if you do still need a FanDuel or DraftKings account, head to ftpicks.com or dkpicks.com. Find those listings in your area, such as Monday night's slate here. Nate, let's get into it.
Yeah, only 6 games, but definitely some interesting angles to bet on. Opens with Arizona, plus 108 at Cincinnati with Bumgarner on the mound. John Gray and the Rangers are minus 104 at Cleveland. Blue Jays, big favorites, biggest of the night, minus 175 at the Royals with Ross Stripling opening for them. The Mariners are plus 138 in Houston. Robbie Ravers, Christian Javier. The Red Sox plus 108 at Angels, who have lost 11 straight. Michael Wacha against Thor. And then intriguing matchup to cap it off. Carrasco and the Mets are plus 102 at the Padres, who are throwing Blake Snell. We start with those Halos that have really struggled, mainly just struggled to get runs across the plate, 3.2 per game during this 11-game losing streak. And the Red Sox have been the opposite when you look at the entire sample size of what they're doing. But they do have those kind of spike games busting in terms of their offensive production. Still, this is baseball, of course. So 9 runs, I think, when you have these two guys that are both around 50% ground ball rate, that are both getting around 70% of their contact outside of the zone, getting batters to chase the pitches they want. Very low exit velocity on Wacha, including when he faced the Angels earlier last month, held them scoreless over 5.2. We did expect some regression from Wacha and a hit against the White Sox, but I think he matches up pretty well against this Angels team. And then you look at Syndergaard's home road splits are just ridiculously different through the sample of, I believe, 4 starts each location. 1.5 ERA at home, basically an 8 ERA on the road, 95% strand rate at home, 48% on the road. 2 of his last 3 starts, he struggled on the road. He pretty much shut down the Rangers at home. But the batted ball data is about the same wherever he pitches, so I think we can expect those things to regress. The point is, he should be able to keep this slugging Red Sox team in the park, avoid those extra base hits that really is their lifeblood. And I think we have a lower scoring game. I would still favor the Red Sox on the road here because until the Angels pull out of this funk, Boston definitely the team to look. And they have been hitting hotter on the road since they got hot on May 1st.
Yeah, I like the Angels a little bit here. Not the most confident play in the world, but I've been saying all year I'm a little bit intrigued by Thor. He is managing contact decently. You can run on him, and he's not going to strike a lot of guys out right now, although his peripherals aren't the worst. But, man, I just look at Michael Wacha's numbers, and I just don't believe in Michael Wacha at all. 198 BABIP. His SIERA is more than 2 runs above his ERA. Just a putrid called strike plus whiff rate, 23.2%. That's way below par. I just don't see any reason to believe he's going to pitch at anything but a below average level, to be honest. And some guys have a true talent for outpitching their peripherals. We haven't seen that with Wacha over the years. His FIP and his ERA are literally identical. And then even the last couple of years when he's had to kind of change up the way he pitches, 5.05 ERA, 6.62 ERA the last 2 years. Small sample for sure on the other one, but the peripherals aren't good either on his 2020 numbers. I think the Angels should probably be closer to minus 130. It's the Angels, so buyer beware. But Yeah, I'm not confident in Boston at all in this spot, and yeah, I just think Walker's overpriced. The Angels also have a better offense than Boston on the season, so I know Boston's been hitting the tar out of the baseball for over a month, but overall, the Angels have actually hit better than them so far.
Yeah, overall, if you take out April, obviously a different story, and then you obviously look at the last 11 games for the Angels, and it's all honestly. I know this isn't the most helpful of commentary here, but I don't know who to bet on in this game. If anything, I would even that under scares me mostly because of the way that Waka sort of seems ripe to Mo's points. That's everything that I was looking at with him. Is you start with that BABIP, the ERA versus the xERA. And the like, and you just are waiting for that moment in time for him. The Angels, if they were going to pull out of a slump, it seems like it'd be the perfect storm right now to take advantage of a guy who, on the road right now too with Waka. I think he feels a little bit more comfortable at home. Thor is the same way, playing at home. Syndergaard, pitching at home. It's wild those splits that he has this season, and the difference is how much better he is when he's playing in Anaheim versus the road. So that goes against it. But the Sox have been the hottest offense in baseball for more than a month now, and they continue to be that way. They continue to be that way against righties. These teams already faced each other earlier this season, and yeah, I don't know if that was as indicative of what we're going to see because it was earlier than when the Sox were just getting going as well. So I have so many instances on both sides of this coin here that I don't know that I feel comfortable enough either way putting my money on anybody. But obviously, at the end of the day, I would honestly feel better about Thor and the Angels at home, and the fact that it's not that minus 130 or so that you're talking about, Mo, does at least mean that I think there's a little bit more value betting on the Angels, despite the fact that the Boston does have that plus money line. So let's go to another one with another 9-run total here in Cleveland. The Guardians taking on the Rangers. John Gray and Cal Quantrill there. So Gray is looking pretty good here so far, Nate, as you've noted. Minus 104 for the Rangers on the money line. Where do you start here?
Well, Gray finally had a good start. Otherwise, he was looking like a complete bust to the signing.
As of last two starts.
Yeah, and for the Rangers. But I like him in this matchup because he's been tougher on lefties. Just a 22% hard contact rate on the road against lefties, 2.7 FIP overall. Lefties are hitting 203 against him. Higher ground ball rate on the road, too, limiting line drives. And that's what the Guardians are going to try to beat him with from the left side of the plate with line drives. And Quantrill, I mean, you talk about a guy who just has a knack for getting outs, even though his stuff isn't that good. That's where we're at with this guy who is just a 7% swinging strike rate. His velocity's down this year, yet he's avoided more damage than last year for the most part. Bottom 5 strikeout rate basically for any qualified pitcher. But he does struggle a little more against lefties, walking nearly 4 lefties per 9 innings with a low ground ball rate. So I lean Rangers here. I think John Gray has more talent and is going to just kind of settle into his new role with the Rangers here. I also kind of like the under at 9 runs because I think Quantrill has an ability to junk ball it up and keep this Rangers offense in check on the road here in Cleveland. Definitely would be a different story if we were down in the sweltering heat of Texas. But lean Rangers here, definitely at minus 104.
I have, I guess, an opinion on the total here, but I want to open by saying I think I'm like 1-9 on my last 10 unders, but I like under 9 a little bit here. John Gray out of Coors, take the guy out of Coors. He's pitching all right. The biggest change seems to be, I don't know if he made this decision or if working with Texas's staff, but he's came out throwing a changeup quite a bit this year. 13% rate this year. He had one other season, I think it was 2019 maybe, or 2020, where he threw it around this amount. And then mostly it's just like a show me pitch that he throws 1 in 20 times. But he's actually using it this year and it's actually working. It's actually been his best pitch this year, which is kind of crazy. His slider has been by far his best pitch in his career. But -3 run value on the changeup this year. according to Baseball Savant. So yeah, it's been his most successful pitch. It's allowing a 148 WOBA. I feel like it's just doing really, really good things for his fastball more than anything, because he's always been a pretty fastball heavy guy. But even though he throws hard, whenever I've watched him, I think that his fastball must be like the most basic fastball in terms of its like movement profile, because he throws hard, but people hit it. And over his career, his fastball has got cooked pretty good most of the time. But this year, it's actually been around average, like around, I guess, neutral, which is, I think, really good for fastballs. They're generally hitters do more damage on them. But John Gray's has been fine this year. I think it's because of the changeup. And then on the other side, you have Quantrill, which, like you said, Quantrill isn't good. He's a guy I'm like always fading, but at least he's throwing from the right side. When I'm looking at this game, I just, man, Texas, I had to stop fading them against lefties for some reason. I don't know what it is, because I'm looking at this lineup and I don't think it's a good lineup. And I don't think their right-handed platoon bats are very good, but they have a 112 WRC plus versus lefties. They just keep hitting lefties, and 88 versus righties. So they've been quite a bit worse against right-handed pitching. So I also like that. I looked in they're not the best versus cutters. They're bottom 10 in their production against cutters. That's a pretty big part of Quantrill's pitch mix. I think he throws at like 38% or something. So not the worst matchup for a not very talented pitcher, like we were saying. But I mean, the total's high. 9's a lot of runs. I know that people have been scoring, so maybe I'm just missing something, and like the boat has sailed on the unders, but I kind of like the under here.
Yeah, that's where I would lean to, and I guess it really comes down to the fact that I do believe a little bit more in John Gray, to the point where we're making at this point, and Cleveland's offense, is still struggling a bit at this point in terms of its ability to score runs. So I do lean under, and I do think at the end of the day that Quantrill's likelihood to have a blow up game, to have a game that you're just super not proud of, would be this one as well. And plus 100 or so, about even money anyway for Texas. It seems like a decent opportunity to predict that he might have one of those with that giant worst in the league Sierra that he's sporting coming into this one. So let's finish things off here, guys, with Robbie Ray and the Mariners taking on the Astros. A total of 8 runs there. Christian Javier has continued to look really good for the Astros. Kick things off for us, Mo. What's your first angle to look at in this one?
Yeah, Christian Javier has looked great. He's putting together a tremendous season so far, and it's kind of out of nowhere. It's out of nowhere even for the Astros. I think they would for sure admit they never saw this coming, or they would have just started him in the rotation, right? I mean, they moved him in out of the bullpen, and he's just been killing it. But that being said, I do still look for some spots to fade him when he's facing lefty-heavy lineups. Really big splits guy over his career. 242 WOBA allowed to righties, which is like disgustingly low. He just dominates them. But 327 against lefties, and this year, while lefties are around league average at 309, it's still a huge split because he's down to 229 against right-handed batters. So I'm looking at Seattle's lineup, and it looks like they can put 6 lefties in there against him, which is very, very, very good for them. And then on the other side, I mean, I've been fading Robbie Ray all year. Not sure I've even bet on him once. But maybe it's time to buy low. I know that he's struggling, and I know that the velocity hasn't been there, which is something I've been pointing out all year. But at the end of the day, he still has a 3.57 Sierra. It's kind of an interesting profile when you look at how he's done so far this year, because he's actually getting more chases than last year and more swinging strikes. 16.2% swinging strikes. That's actually massive. But 10.9% called strikes, which is like really backwards. The hardest part of pitching is getting major league hitters to swing and miss. Mm-hmm. So if you can do that, you're generally going to be successful. He's doing that to a very, very high degree. So I think even if he stays at his lower velocity, better things are coming for him. The worst of his ERA estimators is, I think, his FIP at like 4.25. I think he's going to pitch better, and I don't think this is that bad of a matchup for him. Houston, they crushed lefties last year, but they're actually below average this year so far. Kind of shocking. And They also are very, very heavy fly ball team, which is very good for Ray because he's a very heavy fly ball pitcher. So that favors him. And yeah, I think at around plus 140, it's a little higher than it should be. I would bet this down to like plus 130 or so.
Yeah, I like the underdog juice. What you're saying about Ray, I found the same thing. It's one of the most puzzling peripherals to look through and say, wow, he's doing the exact same thing as he was when he won the Cy last year, yet he has like a 5.6 ERA. I don't know how to explain it. I mean, he's still aggressive. His velocity is down a tick, but the swinging strikes are up. I mean, Houston, with their offense, I do look at the positive regression that seems to be coming. Granted, their last couple series against the Royals and A's is a great spot to find your rhythm at the plate. But I think, you look at them 20-7 to the under again in division games here. I don't think that that's going to last. I think there is a spot to start taking some overs with this offense, and the same way to say, they've been an above average offense against lefties for years. And I don't know if this is the spot for Robbie Ray to turn in a stellar outing. I think he'll be solid. I think quality start, 2 or 3 earned. Javier, perhaps the same, but I think there's enough pop in both these lineups and enough struggles with Javier walking and giving up homers to lefties throughout his career that I would lean towards over at 8 runs. But yeah, I think the juice you're getting at plus 140 with the Mariners is fine for me. I just think, I think we will see some offense in this.
Interesting. Yeah. I mean, I'm not necessarily touching that total in this one. I think a few of the sort of some of the margins here for Robbie Ray to continue. I mean, 10 Ks per 9, despite giving up all those runs, as you guys mentioned, only going to be helped by the fact that the Astros do, hit much worse against lefties than they do against righties. And I do think that there's some room for Javier to kind of come back to earth a bit. His ERA, it's definitely a bit lower than what he's seen, despite having pretty much the same walk and hit rates allowed. Yep. And his FIP's a bit higher there than the ERA as well. So I just think there's a few little things here and there that you might be able to find a little bit extra value to add to that plus 140 that you mentioned, Mo, that you're getting on Robbie Ray and the M's there. So just some fun stuff to look at either way, maybe some runs, but I do like Robbie's Ray's chances a bit more. And that is all the time we have for you guys in this one. Continue to follow along, like and subscribe to that page, bringing you these videos each and every weekday of this MLB regular season. So until we see you next, happy betting.